Yeah, now stand and cheer for your Talking Basketball podcast. Welcome back to this episode. This is the second part of a double header. If you haven't heard the first, go back and listen to it. If you can't be bothered, that's all right. Just keep listening to this one, and hopefully you enjoy it. And don't forget, like and subscribe. I hate it when people say that. I just wanted to highlight something because I think it's so important. So you highlighted about the Philly Fanatic, and we talked about Stuff the Magic Dragon as well. They were both mascots that were created by the same company. I mean, they look quite similar. Acme Mascots by Harrison Erickson. They made literally some of the two most best recognizable, best mascots.
Yeah, they're very, very unique, and everyone knows who they are.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And how many? Do you go through costumes? But that's, is that a thing where it's like we've made a costume? And you go, it can't just be one.
Well, we were quite lucky at the time because the pavilions were were owned by theatre, like I said to you earlier, the costume department. Then when the theatre and the pavilion split, probably late 90s, we needed to find somebody else to make the Fox. And there's a really talented lady based in Exeter, she's called Jeannie Fletcher, and she makes costumes for theatres. So it was a bit of a, for her to come up with Foxy was she'd never made a sports mascot before. But because she's so close to Plymouth, talking 40 minutes, I was able to, so she made the first one for us in like 98. And then pretty much the suits would last 2 seasons. So every 2 years after 98, we'd get another one.
Oh,
but
wow.
what that gave me the opportunity to do every time was to say, actually, it would be good if you could put like some more, like an extra bit of fur on the knees, because when I'm sliding on the floor, they wear out quite easily. And I need to be as cool as possible. So I think in like the 3rd or 4th edition of Foxy, there was like less fur under the arms, and so that it allowed more ventilation. I think she switched the fur actually for ventilation, and like the head, building that around the helmet, and different things that just made it lighter, easier to dunk on, so on and so forth. So then when we got to Pat Riots, and it was like, okay, I want to try and keep all of that stuff that we've evolved with Foxy in this. Of course, it needs to be this color, and this is the character, but we need all of that stuff in it. And so, yeah, that's why I think if you looked at that very first costume to where it is now, they're very different, but still look the same. So it's good.
And I was going to say, where Pat Riots? Where's that name come from? Why Pat Riots?
So it's play on Patriots.
Oh God, I didn't even think of that. Pat Riots, Patriots. I didn't even think that one.
And where it came from was obviously the club had a very limited time to come up with a character. Of course, Plymouth, the Mayflower left from, I don't know if you know that, but Mayflower left from Plymouth and went to discover America. And apparently on the Mayflower, there was a dog. And so that's where Pat Riots, he's based on the dog that traveled on the Mayflower to go and discover America.
Oh, there you go. Pat, we got to talk about, we've talked about opposing players. Have you got any other funny stories of opposing players?
Loads. You could probably talk about it all night. I've just in actual fact, that go back to that short pulling down situation, because I think that was the year. That was 2011. The following year was the Olympics in London, and I was, we spoke about earlier things that I would like to have achieved, and the Olympics was certainly on my list. And that single-handedly stopped me doing the Olympics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, the lady from Guildford went absolutely loopy, which is fair enough. I pulled one of those players' shorts down, and she single-handedly made sure that the gig. Bearing in mind, I'd done all the finals for the basketball, so on and so forth. Well, in actual fact, it was at that point that Foxy stopped doing the finals, and we introduced Larry and Leroy. And but Leroy got to do the Olympics, but it was a performer that wasn't me, and pretty much I believe that incident just was raised up the flagpole so much that
That's
people
a shame because he instigated it, didn't he? That's a shame.
Yeah.
But
yeah, listen, and you could argue, should the mascot be reacting like that? Probably not.
I've never heard of a mascot pulling down a player's shorts. That's genius.
We've done that.
We're going to take notes to the Portsmouth Force mascot and say, right, pick someone. There you go.
I've smashed a couple of backboards, dunking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one was a Sky televised game, and it got delayed by 45 minutes whilst they changed the backboard, which you can imagine that went down, not very well.
How did you break that? Was just like hanging it, or it was just the time it was going to go?
I think, like, modern basketball hoops are designed, aren't they, so that they can't be broken. But clearly there was a fault in the basket, and as it snapped back, the glass had just moved millimeters, but as it snapped back, it then caught the glass, and the whole thing just shattered.
Amazing. I'd have loved to watch Pat Riots dunk it and smash the backboard.
And then run out and pull someone's shorts down on the way out.
What were you like? Were you just like cheering like, yes, I've done it, and like go in with the show?
Well, no. So I did the first time I did it. So this was the game, the televised game, and one of the referees, well, you won't mind me mentioning his name, Darren Bolt, was a BBL referee for a long time, but he, when I was younger, we played local league basketball together, so we always had that bit of banter during a game, or before or after, and I'd sort of walked past him before I'd done the dunk at the end of the third quarter, and I said to him something like, "I'm going to make this one for you," and he laughed. And then so I did it, scored. I think it may have been his birthday or something like that. Anyways, I went over, and he was sort of stood with his head in his hands like this. And I was like, "All right." And he's like, "Look what you've done." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And it didn't like smash as in like fall apart. It just shattered. So the whole thing had become, frosted and shattered. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And obviously in the suit, you can only see that, and everything's quite frosty anyway. And he was like, "You smashed the backboard." And I was like, "What?" And game got postponed 45 minutes whilst they changed it. And then I've done that twice. One was televised, one not. But yeah.
Brilliant.
Not ideal.
Well, look, talking about refs, what have you had challenges with refs, or do you have a rapport with them? Do you make fun of them? What's that like? That relationship?
Depends on the ref. So what I would always do prior to a game is just go in and introduce myself. After 20 years, you get to know the guys relatively well, and you have an understanding. And I think you just always go in, this is my routine. Anything you don't want me to do, anything you do want me to do. And 99 times out of 100, referees would say, just don't want you a meter within, a meter of the court, respect what's going on, etc. And normally if we had anything planned, we could chat that through with them. And if they said not comfortable with that, or that doesn't meet regulation, BBL, FIBA, whatever, we'd rethink the plan. But over time, I think you build up that rapport, that relationship with them, and they're like everybody else, just to ensure that people have a good time and go on having enjoyed the game of basketball. So normally they're pretty cool.
Have you seen regulation change then? Because I know Paul's had to fight a few challenging incidents with the music and stuff at the local games, but have you seen regulation or anything change in a way to adapt to having active mascots and stuff.
I don't think when you're at BBL level, you're at the top level, aren't you? I think where we have more challenges are and probably Plymouth Raiders are probably going through that now, where they've got a mascot at a Div 3 game and they'll be getting NBL referees going, there's a mascot there, where they wouldn't be used to that.
Yeah.
That's what I found. We're getting refs who aren't in that environment. BBL, they're used to it. But yeah, it's a good question.
But
it's
an evolution, because I'm thinking, if you're thinking like 90s going through, there wasn't, if there was a mascot, there might not have been many, or they might not have been doing that same thing.
No, it's a good point. I think my advice to anybody is you put yourself in the official's position, and of course what they're there to do is to manage the game. And of course, when there's lots of fans as well, they're still trying to concentrate on what's going on. So then if somebody in a furry suit is making that difficult for them, or trying to embarrass them, or what have you, and they're not really sure what's going on, that although entertaining for everybody else, makes their job much harder.
Yeah.
Which is why my biggest piece, if I can give any advice to anybody in the UK mascotting, is just out of respect, just go before the game, introduce yourself to the referees, explain a little bit about what you're gonna do, and if they want to be closer or further away, then from the base you're describing earlier about the baseline in your chat, just go and have that, because it makes it so much easier, particularly from the referee's point of view as well, because then they're like, okay, I've spoken to this person, I know what they're doing, they've explained a little bit about what they're doing, there's that respect, I trust them then not to cross that line, because of course then if they ask you not to do something and you do it, then you ain't ever going to have that kind of trust with them again, and you're going to get that reputation across the with the other ref. Just be careful when you go there, because I asked them not to do that and they did it. And then what you'll find is that they'll double down and they'll be like, can't come here, you can't come there, and it just makes your job so much more difficult then.
No, that's actually great advice. Talk to the referees, because again, it's about a show, it's about entertaining everyone for the basketball game, and that makes sense. I'll do that. We've only got one home game left, but we'll do that for our home game, because that makes perfect sense. And also you build that rapport with the referees, and they're like, oh, okay, I know the young guy who's in that, he's okay, exactly. He just needs a bit of guidance.
Well, just a simple thing of, hey, there's a face behind that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a human there. And
because what I have seen is I'm not going to say his name, but I had a referee who I wasn't a fan of, because the mascot, I'd say, was probably a meter, but the referee wanted to go further, so he just shoved the mascot out the way. And it was like, wow, what are you doing? So it was, but having a face, as soon as that referee had a face to whoever's in the mascot, that changed immediately. So it's like, oh, right, okay. And then, he was, Yeah,
it's a strange one though, isn't it? Because like you say, you want to entertain, but the game is there to run.
Yeah,
it's a tricky balance.
Yeah. So, have you ever upset referees? But it sounds like you kept them on your side.
No, definitely not. I wish I had. Referees, away coaches, people. I think what people see, particularly with characters like Foxy or Pat Riots or any of those guys, people perceive it to be really unpredictable and off the cuff, whereas actually that's quite flattering, but you've got to actually really plan what you're doing, not every single second of every single game, because of course you've got to be able to react to what's going on in it, but as long as you can come up with maybe 4 or 5 good skits that you can do, whether that's a timeout, halftime, during the game, that's supporting what's going on the floor, then that's good. If the crowd perceive that to be just sort of off the cuff, then that means you're doing it in the right way.
Okay.
So but you should always have a good plan of what you're going to do.
So if you have a visiting team and an ex-Plymouth player, for example, is now playing for that team. As a Mascot, are you thinking,
are you being nice?
Yeah. Is there a difference? Because obviously there's a rapport, but at the same time...
I guess how I always chose to welcome former players back was just with a, respect, and a clap. Maybe during the team introductions, you wouldn't normally do that, but if it was one of your former players, go over and just sort of high five them.
Okay.
Because they knew me, they'd always probably be a little bit weary or skeptical. Like, oh no, what's he going to do now? But no, I think I always chose to make sure that sorry, I think my battery's just about to die on the laptop. I always just chose to make sure that people, out of respect, really, if they've worn that green, then they should be welcomed back. And I think that's how a lot of the fans pretty much all of the Plymouth fans would always think. I'm just going to go and grab a battery charger, if that's cool.
There you go. We had another pause.
We did have another pause.
Because Riots, his power was running out.
Yeah, he's going low on the juice. Juice low.
Going. Yeah.
Is there?
It's like on midnight, so I was like way past my bedtime.
We've been talking about opposing players and things with the ref. Is there any incident you can think of, other than pulling their shorts down, where you thought maybe I went a little too far there?
Is this every game?
Yeah, regularly. Perhaps pulling somebody's shorts down. Oh, crikey. Yeah, probably too many to mention. Like, I've come home thinking, crikey. Particularly in the early days, like, because I absolutely loved doing it. But I was also not sure whether the club would want me back again. So, and definitely that moment, I mentioned it earlier when we played Coventry Crusaders in the playoff semi-final of 96-97 season, with a place at Wembley Arena at stake, and with, I don't know, 20 seconds or so to go, maybe less than that. I thought the game was finished, and I'm on the court celebrating, and the referee's like, no, the game's not finished, and I'm asked to leave and flipping out. Yeah.
Oh, what, like thrown out of the place?
Yeah, I remember Gary Stronach coming to me and saying, the referees have said you've got to go, like, so you're gonna have to go. So I was like,
can I ask, when that happens, do you take that moment? Do you just walk out, or do you take that moment where you, I guess, as the mascot, hang your head down and slowly droop out, like you getting people going, or is that you just walk out?
Yeah, I mean, it has happened to me a few times over the years. So the first time definitely was like, am I going to get invited back to do this again? Because I really enjoy it, and I hope I haven't just sort of ruined the opportunity to do it again. But then, once I was sort of 3 or 4 seasons in, I was probably a little bit overconfident, and would want, like, milk it would be sort of an understatement. I would definitely be sort of playing to the crowd and, getting, a few times been escorted out by referees and one-match bans and that sort of thing.
That's what you want to see as a fan, though.
100%.
That's what you want to see. That makes it. That's
absolutely.
that magic moment you said.
Yeah, that's right. And people, like, now I bump into people and they go, "Oh my God, do you remember this time?" And it's stuff that I've perhaps forgotten about. And I go, "Oh yeah, I do remember that. Crikey, yeah. What was I thinking?" But just.
Please tell me, when you got chucked out the game, did Plymouth end up winning that game?
Yeah.
And did you then run back out?
Yeah, the Guildford game. We won it by I think like 6 points. It was very close, and it was actually the turning point. Like, I think we were down. This moment happens. We're down, I think, by like 2 or 3, and the moment, like, the referees really didn't. They dealt with it quickly, professionally, so on and so forth. I get ejected and asked to leave, and Plymouth go on to win. But what was funny about that was that the next day we were all going for a team lunch. Like we're off out to one of the sponsors to have some lunch, and I remember turning up, and that was the Sunday. On the Monday, we booked a holiday. We were already going. We were leaving. I remember Gavin saying to me the next day, Gavin Love, who was our coach at the time, saying to me, people are going to think that you're leaving the country because of this. And I was like, no, they're not. And sure enough, like on like all the message boards and whatever, like, oh, we've heard Foxy's left the country. I had, but it was planned. So yeah.
I tell you, you just touched on something then there, and I just think that is, I don't know, from our perspective, I guess from fans' perspective, that is amazing. The access you've got to the coaches and the players, right?
Yeah, I guess from my, particularly in Plymouth, and I don't know what it's like elsewhere, but what you got to remember, I started doing this when I was 15, and I was part of the junior program. So then a lot of the guys that came through were friends of mine, and we were of that age. So then right throughout my 20s into my early 30s, it was my social circle, and a lot of the guys that went through sort of 10 or 15 years remain friends of mine to this day, and we'll be friends for life, no doubt. And that was what it was. It was just, we were just a group of mates that just, I wasn't good enough to play in the team of basketball. I played local league and so on and so forth. But if I'm honest with you, would I have swapped playing to be the mascot? Probably not. I just loved doing that. It was just, that was my thing. But they were like my mates, and we, we'd go on holiday together, we'd do stuff together, and remain, like I say, friends to this day. And not just local guys, people that come in from overseas, and been lucky enough to travel around the world and be part of weddings and different celebrations, all around.
This is Pat Riots or Foxy?
More so Foxy, because that was probably what took up most of the time. But yeah, it's we were,
Oh, that sounds amazing! Being at a wedding and Foxy or Pat Riots are standing there, just like, yeah, that'd be brilliant.
That's very cool.
I've done weddings. Sadly, I've done some funerals where people have sort of requested that, and I guess that shows the other side of it as well. Is the when we sadly had a couple of incidences where young fans have been poorly and passed away. But just to be part of that, and get that sort of phone call to say, this child, 10, 11 years old, is, terminally ill, and they love Foxy. Can you come? And of course,
oh, wow.
Absolutely. So we went, we did that. You have a moment with a family that, that's that, some people say, well, why'd you do it? And that's one of the reasons. This happened very early on. And, we did that. And sadly, this child passed away. And then one of the things was they didn't have a funeral. They had a celebration of life. So we went and did that as well. There were lots of children there. And just to be able to give something back, is a side that people perhaps don't see of it, that I'm thankful to be able to do.
I love that. Lovely.
Yeah, that's great. And again, I'm going to go back to the words you use, Chris, which is magic moments. And even that is a magic moment, like wherever it's at a funeral or in the game and stuff like that. That's just, that's nice to hear.
For a club, and you've mentioned about community. and everyone who's in and around an organisation, it's we, isn't it? It's always we. It's not just about the players or the coaches or the mascot or the venue staff or physios. It's every single person is part of something that is part of that. And so that when people come to it, the crowd, and it's the juniors, right through to the benchers, everyone in between in the community, they see that team and people who represent part of that team, and the experience and the magic that's associated to it.
And talking about, I guess, the team then, like how much association, like do you speak to like the guys who are doing like all the music or the commentator, not commentator, like the announcer?
Yeah, and again, just going back to what we did in Plymouth, sort of we moved into the pavilions, that sort of 96, 97. It was all a bit, everybody was like, what's going on? And over probably 2 or 3 years, that team became really quite close-knit. So we talk about the players and the coaches and the access that you have to that, but genuinely, all the light technicians, lighting guys, sound technicians, right into the management of the pavilions. In those, we were all just like one big social group. So we'd do a game, we'd all go out afterwards, and that was just the way it was. Everybody was just really involved, and I suppose that stood us in good stead as we sort of moved up through, from Division 1 and into the BBL. Kind of changed a little bit. The dynamic changed at that stage because you went from having a lot of homegrown players in the setup to, obviously more imports, and it changed slightly at that point. But I think we were all just thrilled to be doing our thing and in the BBL. I think was about 2004, 2005.
And of course, when you're stepping up and doing the BBL, you're being televised as well.
Yes, yeah. Not so much in the early days. I think like the league at that time was, coming through the whole, when we went from the Budweiser League to the ITV thing that then collapsed, and Sky then didn't want to pick it up, and they were still sort of feeling the effect of that. But then, certainly sort of get to like 2008, 2009, and there were some more stuff started happening again on TV, and Sky got involved again. And of course, now you've got games that you can put onto YouTube and that sort of thing. And that can only be good for the game, can't it?
It must be great being able to go on YouTube and just watch yourself as Pat Riots going, check this out. This was a good dunk. Because sometimes when especially if the Patriots are at home, I'm looking out for Pat Riots because it's a great part of the show. And there's been a couple of times where Sky Sports have shown it, and they 100% should show it because it's brilliant. It's great entertainment. They did one of the Pat Riots dunks. I think it was in at the end of the third quarter, between the third and the fourth. I think it happened.
That's right. Yeah.
It was just like, that is brilliant because that is just encouraging people to go, I want to be there and see that.
And your family have gone and obviously watched you at those points.
Oh, yeah. You could have kept it a secret, could you? You could have a little Pat Riots next to you, baby Pat Riots.
That would be so hard to do.
Yeah, it was. It's quite nice. It's been nice for me over the years because my dad was not at all sporty, or fishing was my dad's sport. So I grew up playing football and basketball and a little bit of rugby, and it just wasn't his thing. But then when I became Foxy, I was like, you're gonna have to come to a game, Dad, and see it. And the first game that he came to, I think, was actually that Coventry game. And then the following season, when he knew that I'd sort of got the gig, him and my mum bought season tickets, and they had season tickets up until my dad passed away in 2010, and he had season tickets right up to the point that he passed away, and my mum's continued to go. And then after I met Lucy, and we've had the girls, and they come as well. And now my eldest daughter Thea is 14, and she cheerleads. She does the cheerleading program with both Patriots and Raiders. So it's nice that the next generation sort of is sort of kicking in again. So, and I was lucky enough to perform a few games with her as well. So that was a really proud moment for me too.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. So how much will like Pat Riots or Foxy get involved with the cheerleaders then? And is that like rehearsed, or are they like just go to the back somewhere and do something funny, or is that?
Yeah, so again, it's like an evolution. So, you know, I was lucky, you know, particularly when I was younger, you know, the first lady that ran the cheerleaders, Rachel, was brilliant and very engaging with Foxy. And then Jenny Gray took it over and she ran it for, I couldn't even tell you how many years, but she was in and around it for probably 15, 20 years, maybe more. And there was a couple of people that sort of, she stepped away and they stepped up, and then Emily, who runs it now, just all great people, but understanding of the relationship between the mascot and the cheerleaders. And I think, you know, I was particularly, you know, close to those guys. We became really good friends, and I think that probably helps that sort of dynamic as well, and having that understanding.
And if there are anyone like spectators or like coming to watch the game who you know, are you like looking like, yeah, I'm getting them, like I'm grabbing them, or like is there anyone who's not seen, who didn't realise it was you, and you're like, yeah, I know who they are?
Yeah, that's happened a few times where people have been there and not aware that it's me, and like either like nicked a handbag or a hat or something like that. And that's always even funnier, isn't it? Because they're like, what the hell is this guy doing? And, you know, so that's always good fun. And then you get to say, oh, that's me. Yeah, it's always good fun. The one, my biggest frustration was if I ever hit a half court shot and nobody caught it on film. And funnily enough, you can Google this. This is a true story. My last game in September, I signed off with a half court shot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was, and that's, I don't know where that is actually.
Was that filmed?
Or TikTok? Yeah, that was filmed, and it's there. So,
what's it feel like when you hang up the reins?
Yeah, that's the best. To drain a half court.
You drained a half court, and you go, right, that's the footnote, done.
I did once. I only ever made one because a great man once said, you know, never repeat a good show of something, and it was like once you've nailed that, move on to something else, and I always sort of heeded that advice, and I did a reverse, like behind reverse half court shot, so from behind, you know, my head, and I after I'd done that, I never ever attempted it again because of like, I've done that, and
yeah, just that's it, one and done.
Yeah, one and done.
So what's it feel like now that you've I want to say hung up the reins in that respect, but obviously someone else is carrying the torch. Pat Riots lives on.
Yeah, and it's nice because we go to the games. Like we go as a family, and we're able to watch the games. So my two younger daughters, 9 and 7, and I'm able to sit with them and talk them through what's going on in the game, and just it's nice then to catch up with people that you're used to seeing, but from a different side, and talk and reminisce in some cases, which is good.
What's it like sitting on the other side of the fence? Because Paul said it a few times where he's doing the audio work at the game and said, you know what, I just sometimes want to just sit in the crowd and just watch the game. So now, after all those years, decades of you doing this,
yeah,
you're now sitting on the seat watching. What's that like?
So yeah, there's been a couple of games that I've been to, and I'd love to be mascotting at this game, like where they're close, and the crowd perhaps aren't reacting how you would like them to react, and I think, well, I'd be doing this at this point, or what have you. And so there's been that, but there's been other games where they've been blowouts, and I've just been able to sit there and just really just enjoy, being with the girls and doing that. So yeah, there have been a few times where I've quite like to. I'd be making a meal of this right now, and but yeah, I'm just quite enjoying having a bit of time. To be honest with you, it's quite nice and being able to chill out.
When you hung up the Pat Riots, I don't want to say head,
tail,
whatever it is. Was that across the board? Was that like, Pilgrim Pete, Pat Riots, Fox? And you went,
no, so it was just the basketball. So I wanted to continue doing the football because, like I said to you earlier, I've done the basketball for 26, 27 years, and the football was something that, it's a different sort of market, and I've got a little list of things that I want to achieve really in doing that. One of them was to be able to do Wembley Stadium. I've done Wembley Arena. It was nice to complete the set, so got the opportunity to do that last year. There's a few other things, I'll keep them to myself, but
how's that feel walking out Wembley Stadium? 84,000?
Unbelievable. It's one of those sort of like, little old me from a council estate in Plymouth. All right, I might not be walking out as a player or what have you, but to be able to say that I've stood on the turf in front of 3,000 people, whatever it was, it's like, yeah, that's another tick in the box, isn't it? I can rest easy knowing that I've done that.
And apologies for the ignorant question here, but what game was that? Who were Plymouth playing? What?
So that was the EFL Trophy final.
Okay.
Against Bolton. It wasn't a great result for Plymouth, but it was also, I believe, the what actually spurred us on to get over the line and win the league. So we didn't have the day that we all wanted it at Wembley, and that was, a shame, massive shame. But we went on to win the league, and that was fantastic.
And with that game that you're talking about, and this is I don't think this is not, but it just makes me smile a little bit when you have the Super Bowl that happen, and they're like, this is the biggest event of all time, is the Super Bowl. And I'm like, EFL trophy, 86,000. Papa John's, Portsmouth versus Southampton, 84,000. It's like, and then it's not even the biggest ones, is it? And
that's right. It's interesting. I think a lot of people watch. I don't know what the global audience is from a TV. I bet that would be astronomical numbers. But it's just it's a different level, isn't it? I've always used to. I remember when we first broke the 10,000 barrier in a BBL playoff final. And we're now, I don't know what they're doing, 12, 13,000 consistently every year. And it's nice because that, again, we talk about teams, and I haven't even spoken about them, but the people that put on the BBL finals, so we've got Andy Webb, who's been around for a number of years, and then Claire Hatch, or Claire Holmes as she's now called, and Ian Holmes, Andy Green and Craig Sorrell, and characters like that. And again, going from Plymouth to doing the BBL finals, we had for a number of years Simon Hosanna, MC, and we just had a real close-knit team who just really all understood each other, and we'd have a real giggle as well, just doing the events. And again, those guys are the unsung heroes. Without them, the finals, BBL finals, wouldn't happen. They're there, laying courts for sort of 12, 14 hours and plus at a stretch, up at sort of 3, 4 o'clock to make sure that the games happen that day, because they've only had limited access, and just put on a bloody good show. They're great guys.
Does it feel pressured when you put the suit
on? Perhaps in the early days it did, and I perhaps felt that pressure, whereas when you've been doing something for 26 or 27 years, I think you learn to enjoy that, and you're sort of so tried and tested in what you're doing. You know, you can almost, it's almost sort of second nature. So you know what you're going to be doing within reason, and then you know how you're going to get a reaction from the crowd and how that could impact the atmosphere and what's happening on the floor. So I think,
especially taking it from basketball, as you're saying, and you've done that, and that's your tenure. You've done a long tenure in that, and then you're applying that to football. As you said, it's a different crowd, it's a different way of doing it. Do you then?
It translates. It does translate. Different crowd, different people, but at the end of the day, sort of slapstick comedy is slapstick comedy, isn't it? And I think you can get raise a laugh from most people with different things that you do.
I was just thinking, if you're in this Wembley and you're running out the tunnel, most people are thinking, run out the tunnel, you're going to look cool, you get on the stage. If you're the mascot, if you trip up, it actually is better for you, because
absolutely,
any of the other footballers, they would be like, I am mortified. That will be haunting me forever.
You must have had goosebumps. There must be times where you've done something and you've got like Wembley Stadium arena, and you must have goosebumps going, wow.
Yeah, this is it.
A moment in it for you, and you can really absorb that and react, and no one can see that reaction.
No, that's right. No, that was a special moment. That was something that my wife filmed it, and I show that to everybody I can at the moment. That was a special moment. From basketball, I was lucky enough to do the quarterfinal of the Champions League basketball out in Turkey, because the people that invested in Plymouth also owned a club in Turkey. And we went to Istanbul about 2 weeks before, you may have heard there was a pandemic, about 2 weeks before that all kicked off. And the competition actually got cancelled. They won, they made it to the semi-final. We were going back out to do the semi-final, so it was great. And then COVID put a stop on that. So it was a massive shame. But again, going out to do that,
wow.
I'll tell you a funny story actually with that. We get invited out to go and do this game, and we're on the plane, and I'm sat next to Ross Mackenzie, one of the owners of the Raiders at the time, and flying to Istanbul, we're chatting away, and we'd had to put the Fox costume obviously in the hold, so couldn't carry it on his hand luggage. So we were being picked up, and I said to him, when we get out the other end, I'm going to dive in a toilet and I'm going to put the Fox costume on and walk through the airport with it. And he was like,
wow,
mate,
bold.
Mate, you can't do that. Have you ever been to Istanbul? I'm like, no. He goes, look, the army run the airport. There's going to be like people with guns in, like, we don't want to be messing around. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it.
This is genius.
So I literally took it up. It comes through on the gondola, take it off, dive in the toilet, get dressed, and just come out in the
and like you walk at the Fox is walking through with all the players
through the airport. And again, you can Google that. There's some footage of that on YouTube as well. But yeah, that was funny, and it's actually funny that we're talking about that now, because it flashed up on my memories. It was 5 years ago today that we were out there doing that. So
wow,
brilliant. I like the idea of, like, the owners phoning you and saying, like, we got this thing in Turkey, can you come over? And you're like, yeah, sure. How long do you need to prepare? 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
That's my peak done, my head.
I'm just thinking that you're doing this, and with the world of, at the beginning, obviously, social media was not what a thing like it is now. So nowadays, and at that time, you doing that, your family is getting a message going, Yeah, Chris is just walking through
Brilliant.
Istanbul airport, then they're like,
Foxy's walking through his. That'd be like, that is genius level status there.
"What's your dad doing today?" Well, mine was doing the gardening. What was yours doing? Mine washed the car. What did yours do? He put on a costume and he walked through an airport.
But you know what? And
Wow.
you have to consider this, that if social media was as big now as it was in the 90s, this would be even bigger. Foxy, Pat Riots would be even bigger.
Oh yeah, without question.
But yeah,
That's
that's brilliant. I'd like the
bold.
idea
I
if
respect
Foxy
that.
had
Bold.
his own big passport that he held as well. It said passport and a picture of him inside. That would have been funny as well.
All I remember, but coming back from Istanbul, there's one queue of ladies who were getting various cosmetic surgeries, and there was one queue of gentlemen, and all they were doing was getting hair plugs.
Okay.
One of the main things out in Istanbul, apparently. A lot of stuff out there like that.
And then Foxy walks through
And then,
with all these 7-foot players.
So all the hair plugs you're getting, this is where it's from. Shave a bit of tail.
Oh dear, brilliant. Well, Mark, you got your last 2 questions, haven't you?
Yeah, I always have the who is, I want to say not the clutch player, but you're going to give them the ball and they're taking that one shot. It's clutch time, game winner.
Your all-time favourite player.
All-time favourite player, like well, maybe not even your favourite, but the one that you know they're going to hit that.
Oh, crikey.
Can I just throw a curveball on this?
Mm-hmm.
If Chris wants to say Foxy or Pat Riots, you can say Pat Riots or Chris. Imagine getting.
Oh no! So listen, I already fanboyed my, Rocky from the Denver Nuggets. If we're looking for a mascot at that game, then he's the man, and that's who we're tapping up.
Are you going to get him to take the shot for the
Yeah,
game?
wow. So he's going to be on the sideline cheering on
Excellent.
the person taking the shot. So I'm just going to, maybe I'm overthinking this. I mean, of course, my go-to answer would be Michael Jordan. I just grew up in that era. But if I'm not allowed to choose an NBA player,
Anyone.
He's the most one.
You
that
could have
gets
Charles
picked.
Dickens if you want.
Yeah.
No, Michael Jordan. I just think, what he did for basketball, and of course, you've got some incredible players that are coming through now, and yeah, it's great to see. LeBron's just done last night. Was it the 40,000?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Incredible to see that, and I still think he's got a few years left in him. I think this time next year will we see him hit 41,000?
Yeah.
Most likely.
You know what?
Yeah.
I got a great stat. Actually, I can't back this up. I'd have to type it in my calculator real quick, but it sounds about right.
But you're going to put it out there anyway.
I'm going to put it out there anyway, and it was to highlight what an achievement LeBron's done with 40,000 points. Someone said, imagine scoring 37 points every game in every season, and you play something, I think it was like 68 games every season. You score 37 in each game, and you do that for 20 years. That's 40,000.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few dotting around like that. 65 games, it's 30, something else is that, and
Yeah.
if you do the full 82, it's less. It's 24.5 or whatever it is, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I also like the fact that he's got his 40k in points, but he's also got, I want to say, 10k in, is it assists and 10k in rebounds
That's just
as well? I need to
Yeah,
verify
it
that,
is.
but it's something like that.
It is, yeah. His assists and rebounds over 10k. But let's just forget he is not tenured as long as Chris was as a mascot. Just saying.
No.
Well,
And
there
look,
we go.
LeBron James never walked through Istanbul airport in a mascot outfit.
And then pulled someone's shorts down on the way out. Yeah, that
Oh,
definitely.
dear.
Okay, so we've got another question for you, Chris, and it is...
This is harsh because normally we prep everyone who comes on the show with this question.
This
'cause
is
it's a
my
hard
revenge, because I didn't even know who Chris was when you just said you were going to speak to someone tonight. So this is my turn to come back.
Are you glad I didn't say who it was?
I am absolutely thrilled because, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Chris. And yeah, just as a mascot on the side, like you've been fantastic to watch. And
Well, we always talk about every time we do a BBL, we're going, Pat Riots!
yeah,
Plymouth!
it's brilliant.
That's the first thing we say.
So
Brilliant.
we like to choose a 5 and Pine. So the Pine's sitting on the bench, the warm up to come through. 5 is your all-time starting 5. And you can pick it, and it can be NBL players, it could be NBA players, it could be BBL, it could be Eurobasket. You could even put Pat Riots in there if you really want to. But it's your starting 5.
Right, so I'm definitely going Michael Jordan. I'm definitely going LeBron. I'm going Steph Curry. I'm going Magic Johnson.
Oh.
And I'm going Wemby.
Oh.
Oh. Okay.
And the reason, let me tell you why I'm putting Wemby in there.
Who's on the bench?
Oh, crikey.
Who's on the Pine?
Hang on, he was just about to tell you why Wemby's in
No, we can go to that. I want to know who's Pine then, because I'm really interested now if Wemby's there.
The reason I chose Wemby is I was lucky enough to meet him. We did a pre-season in France 2 years ago. In fact, I don't know. I'll share this with you. And we've gone to France and we're playing.
The players Chris has met over the years, BBL players, future NBA players, the players you've met, the European players.
Oh, yeah, and very, very fortunate to have been around a lot of these guys. And I've just got to find this photo because I want to share it with you. I know it's a podcast, so people at home won't be able to hear it, but I'll see it. But this is worth the wait. Trust me.
Is this as you or Foxy or Pat Riots?
No, so we're
It's funny, Magic, MJ, and LeBron.
One of the guys who's still involved at Patriots, Paul Nicholson, he's like, "You've got to get a photo of me of this guy because I'm telling you he's going to be the #1 draft pick." And I was like, "Okay," and he was like, "Please, we'll get the photo." So we do the game. After the game, everybody's crowding around this guy, and he's like, "Please get a photo of me of this guy." I'm like, "Yeah, come on then." So
that is a stitch up.
Oh no!
Wow.
Did you do a nice? So all right, I'm just going to explain this
Yeah,
to our
forgive me.
listeners. Imagine a picture of
bear in mind, this
Chris's
guy's 6 foot. So.
Chris's friend who's 6 foot. Wemby is what, 7'4"?
Yeah.
7'4", and Chris has taken the picture, cutting Wemby's head off.
Completely off.
So it just goes to his shoulder, and that's it. Did you take a nice one for him?
I don't think I did.
That's even better. That is even better. That is
Oh,
exactly
dear.
the picture that you need. I've got a picture of Wemby. It's like,
But you know what? I gotta say, and I've thought this throughout the interview, there is a similarity between Chris's personality and Foxy's personality and Pat Riot's personality. It's your personality you're bringing in.
Has to be,
Having
doesn't it?
someone
Yeah.
saying, "Please, can I have this picture of an NBA player?" and you taking a picture with the NBA player's
cut his
head
head
cut off. Oh, I'd have been so mad. That could be anyone. It's like, no. But that is what Pat Riots would do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Genius. Oh dear. I reckon we could listen to Chris tell stories for like 5 hours of just like, oh yeah, this
Easily.
happened. Oh yeah, this happened.
Easily.
So who's on the bench, Chris?
Who's on the bench, Chris?
I'm gonna
Is
go
it
with-
Wemby's head?
So how many have I got to have on the bench?
One. That's it. You only get one.
Oh,
It's 5 and Pine.
flippin' heck.
Yeah. We did a show with Paul Blake, and he struggled, and then I've said I'm going to actually print out what he put, and I'm going to send it up to him because he was really like, oh, maybe I should change them. But then
did he go NBA players, or did he have like was Fab in his six?
Oh, I've got it. I always write everyone's things down. Hang on.
It is here somewhere. I'm actually going to make it into a nice board.
We're going to create a board.
Create a nice little board
at the end of the season. Oh,
but we've had some people as well who've considered if they play nicely together, and then we've had some people who've said, I want it to be a team that I am in, and there'll be a couple of like famous people or even their mates or people that they've played with or players that they value. So it's always really interesting.
Just in case there's like an opportunity that this may happen at some point. Can I just put myself on the bench and then I can play?
Of course you
can.
Hang on, is it yourself or?
I'm me. I forget about Pat or Foxy or Leroy or Scorpio or Pete or. I'm putting myself on the bench just so that I can play with those guys.
It's a good way to put it.
A really selfish thing to do. I don't know. Does that defeat the object to your question?
No, it doesn't at all. That's exactly it.
I don't think has anyone said that before. I don't think they have.
I think it was
not many people, but that is the thing.
Mr. Chairman said it.
He
wanted to put he was going to play, and because he was doing it with his friends, and one of his late friends who'd passed on, he was like, I'd love to play with him, so I'd have him back, and we'd be in it, and it's like. It's your 5 and 1. You do
whatever you want. Yeah.
But there's also
I've got Paul Blake's here.
I've just got an image.
Well, who's Paul got?
He had 1 MJ, 2 Shaq, 3 Kevin Garnett / Sean Kemp, 4 Grant Hill, 5 Scottie Pippen, 6 Dame, 7 Wade. Hey, look, it's Paul Blake. We're gonna let him have 7.
Well, yeah, because he really wanted to have Wade, but then he was also getting down onto I want them to be a specific number and I want them in a specific order, and it's pretty. It really twists people because they're oh no, but if I have him, he won't play with him, and it's quite fun.
Let them do that. I mean, what they've achieved in Newcastle is just phenomenal, and I know some of the fans may argue recently that the on-court success hasn't been where they wanted it to be, but what they've got there is a really secure franchise, and what they've done with their youth development is just the blueprint of how it should be done.
I was actually going to use that word. That's the blueprint from I think Newcastle is the blueprint for a BBL franchise.
You look at everything that they do, they just do it really well. Maybe except for their mascot. But that's controversial. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Wow.
I'm joking.
I like the idea of Foxy or Pat Riots walking into the Eagles nest with an Eagles jersey on and then lifting it up, and they got the Patriots jersey. That'd be good.
That sounds a really dumb question, but for away games, is the home team the one who's allowed the mascot, or is it very much a traveling? Because I've seen some games, obviously when they're like,
I don't think mascots will go to away games unless it's
They're don't, but are they not allowed?
A neutral venue.
That was what I was just going to. Is it because it's a neutral venue? Obviously, cup games or finals.
I don't think there's a rule. Is there? Is there a rule?
That's what I just wondered.
So cup games or finals, the clubs do normally get the opportunity to request if they want, and it normally works, and that's why it works so well after Shortgate, when Foxy couldn't do the BBL finals anymore. So we had Leroy, and then he developed into Larry, and but so you'd have Larry, and then whoever the clubs were. Most of the finals that I've done, it's been Newcastle and Leicester. So Newcastle would bring the Eagle, Leicester would bring Hot Shot, and that it'd just be a good fun changing room. Then we'd all everybody would get on, we'd have a bit of a giggle, and off we'd go.
Brilliant. That is absolutely fantastic.
Chris, aka Foxy, aka Pat Riots, aka Pilgrim Pete, aka Leroy the Lion, aka there's another lion in there as well, isn't it? Look, we've been talking to Plymouth City Patriot, I'm going to say legend mascot, arguably the greatest mascot in the BBL.
Yeah.
of all time. I'm going to say, got to be of all time. It's the one thing that really sticks out for us in the BBL, getting into it and trying to get our listeners into the BBL. Pat Riots just stands out, and that's all thanks to you, Chris.
Yeah, well done on your achievement. It's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. It's I've enjoyed it, and like I said earlier, it lives on, and it's in very capable hands at the moment. So long may it continue.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
You always do this. I don't know what button it is.
I'm waiting. That's why I'm not touching it.
Is it the same one? Right, I'll do that.
Is it the same one? Yes, it's the same one. It never changes.
There you go.
Every week we go through this trauma of, do I press the right button? Chris, thank you so much for joining us. We've got loads of episodes going out already. We've got some more coming up. If you haven't listened to them all, go back and check them out. I've been Mark.
I have been Paul. Hello. And we've had Pat Riots.
We have had Pat Riots.
Foxy.
Cheers, guys.